and welcome to Captain's Log, episode number 14. My name is Chris, also known as Rachel Garrett, on sdowiki.org and starbaseutc.com. And this week we have quite a packed show, so let's get started with some gaming news. So in gaming, I want to direct your attention to two crowdfunded projects. First is Project Eternity, which is coming to a close when this episode is published. I think their funding is coming to a close within 24 hours, so if you want to get in there, you need to decide quickly. Project Eternity is a very old school isometric view RPG by the renowned developer Obsidian, which was already responsible for such great games like Fallout, Neverwinter Nights 2, Icewind Dale, Knights of the Old Republic 2, and even the new Fallout in Las Vegas. And they wanted to do a role-playing game with very mature themes, which no publisher would want it to touch actually, and they wanted to make a really mature RPG which could touch themes that they feel are important for a very grown-up audience. They've grossed a lot of money already. They're closing in to $3 million right now, and if you want in there, I think you can secure a copy of the finished game for $20 if you help them crowdfund this game. Another project of the kind is Star Citizen by the Wing Commander creator Chris Roberts, and that's a name we didn't hear for a while because, well, he actually suffered from burnout according to himself, and now he's back and he wants to create a highly ambitious space simulation PC game that's based on the CryEngine 3, the same engine that has been used in Crysis 2, for example. And, well, he wants to give you two experiences in one. So first is a solo campaign, steady progression. Yes, you pilot small fighter craft that are launched from a carrier into space, and all of that is supposedly very seamless, very high detailed. He's talking about that the character models for the pilots have twice the amount of detail than regular first-person shooter games have, actually. And so he is very much into immersing the player into this world and the single-player experience. But when you have completed the single-player campaign, then you are a Star Citizen and have actually citizen rights and may head into an open world part of the game where you can, well, travel from sector to sector and undertake missions on your own. And this sounds really good, actually, but actually I think it sounds too good to be true. If one wants to follow these two very different game types, and if you want to satisfy actually two audiences in one, which is also tied into a multiplayer, persistent server world, so kind of an MMO type of game. I don't think you can do that with crowdfunding, because even very successful projects like Project Eternity or Planetary Annihilation just managed to get about 1 million up to 3 or 4 million US. I think that budget would suffice to do one of these two gameplay styles right. So I think this project is a bit of over-ambitioned. Also, they're already talking about doing something like a monetization model, very much like Guild Wars 2. So pay once to get into the game, and then the game tries to raise money through microtransactions in-game. And they already have that language that we know from Star Trek Online. You can decide if you want to spend money or if you want to spend time. And well, I actually can't believe that this will yield a balanced gaming experience. Maybe I'm too biased from a disappointment with Star Trek Online's free-to-play model right now. And also, you should note that the game should be in development for the foreseeable future for at least 2 years. So there is a large time lag between you investing your money now and seeing anything in return. So I'm very tempted to support Project Eternity, Star Citizen, although it's actually more my type of game on the surface. I don't think so. But I wanted to give you the links in the show notes, and there you can check it out and judge for yourself. Yeah, that's all for gaming this week. And now let's continue to some Trek news. So maybe you have heard already, but I wanted to give you a link to that as well. J.J. Abrams brought the first teaser to a talk show by Conan O'Brien, and well, actually it's a 3 frames teaser. No kidding there. Just a split second of footage. Supposedly that's Zachary Quinto in a spacesuit inside a volcano. And well, now you can piece together the whole complete story for Star Trek 2 or 12 Into Darkness. Well, no, you can't, but well, the internet is full of spoiler rumors and stuff like that since that short teasers. Well, J.J. Abrams really knows how to play the audience. Then I've talked about this, I think, 2 shows ago. There's a project called Star Trek Renegades, which consists mostly of the same people who already did Star Trek of Gods in May. So primarily it's some actors from Star Trek Voyager, supported by Walter Koenig as Admiral Pavel Chekhov in the 24th century. And well, that project has finally made a debut on Kickstarter, and they're actually collecting money now. They want to collect $200,000 to produce a pilot movie for Star Trek Renegades, and want to use that as a pitch to CBS to convince CBS to do a official Star Trek television series based on this, or official Star Trek web series based on this. And even if it doesn't turn out, then they want to continue doing Star Trek Renegade episodes, again using crowdfunding. And well, that project started, I think, with a time span of 60 days. It's down to 44 right now, and they've collected only roughly half of the money that they actually need. So, and there's less than 1,000 supporters for that project. And on one hand, I find this a bit sad, because I would have thought that the Star Trek community as a whole would really want to see a project like that. But on the other hand, I think the pitch for the project is not really good. Again, it was pitched as a darker, more edgier version of Star Trek with lots of conflict, and well, actually I think Trekkies are bored by that. We really had a great sci-fi show which explored all these themes, and I think that won't be matched by anything in the next decade or 2, and that was Battlestar Galactica. I think if you want to go dark, and if you want to experience that kind of science fiction, this really gritty quality, this desperate quality, this nuts and bolts, blood and sweat kind of sci-fi, then I think you won't be able to do anything that matches Battlestar Galactica for the foreseeable future, because that was a stroke of genius by Ronald D. Moore. And Star Trek terribly failed at that kind of themes with Enterprise. I don't know if that is actually the direction that a new reimagined Star Trek series or the next Star Trek series should explore. I really think the next Star Trek series should be a counterpoint to, I think, this mainstream idea of making everything brutal, dark, gritty. I think Star Trek would be the perfect medium to explore a brighter future, a stylized future. Well, that's only my opinion, but that's the reason why I would not contribute to that project. And major point, the proposed starship is ugly as hell. Really ugly as hell. And, well, also I'm not interested in a continuation of Star Trek Voyager. And this is very much pitched like a continuation of Voyager. We have Tuvok, we have Harry Kim, we have the Holodoc, and Star Trek Voyager was not my favorite Star Trek series. That would be the Next Generation, followed by Deep Space Nine, which actually was the most successful in depicting a gritty, dark vision of Star Trek. And, well, even that was not comparable with Battlestar Galactica, I think. So this project has a chance of getting funded, actually. So within the first 2 weeks, 50% of the money they wanted to raise is in, almost. And, well, there are more than 40 days to go to collect the other $100,000 US. So I'll keep my eye on that. But, well, personally, I'm not into supporting that project. And then there are 2 non-fiction Star Trek books in the making. And first is the Highness Manual for Klingon Bird of Prey owners. Last year, they already published the Enterprise Owner's Manual, and that was kind of nice to have because it had a lot of pretty pictures, but actually if you already owned the Enterprise D technical manual, then there wasn't too much new in there, but that was a nice solid book. And the Klingon Bird of Prey manual really looks fantastic. There have been some pages pre-published, and I'll give you a link to them in the show notes, and they really look gorgeous. This looks like a lot of fun, and if you're like me who likes to dig into that kind of stuff, the technical details, all the fantasy technology that is invented for Star Trek, then I think this book is really for you. Then there's another non-fiction book for Star Trek in the making, and that's the coffee table book Federation, the first 150 years. And this does not grip me as much. I think the premise is that from a perspective in the future, the history of the Federation is retold, basically. And there are new drawings of the launch of the Phoenix, the Romulan Earth Wars, and so on and so forth. But it doesn't strike me as detailed, and it doesn't feel right from what I can see now. So I'm anticipating that book, but I'm also highly skeptical about it. So finally, we get some really solid information on season number 7, which has no title as of yet. Cryptic launched the season 7 dev blog, which also closes, I think, the book for season 6. Well, there have been 2 blog entries as of now. So the first is a discussion and a confirmation of the Special Task Force mission Into the Hive, which is supposed to launch together with season 7. And there you will be entering a uni-complex and fight your way through a central plexus, engage the Borg, and finally have your final stand against the Borg Queen. And there will be special rewards for completing that mission in certain time slots, which will be announced on the calendar. So far so good, nothing too special about that. But then we got some really interesting new insights into the new sector that will be added to the sector map. And this is the so-called New Tau Dewa sector block. And there's a lot of systems in there, and if you read the system names, you get some really nice associations with Trek lore. So we have Khitomer, I would say the battlefield of eternity between the Romulans and the Klingons, and according to Star Trek lore, Khitomer now belongs again to the Klingon Empire in Star Trek Online. Then we have the Suliban system, we have the Acamar system, that's the planet that Star Trek The Next Generation visited. We have Jouret, where a colony was, I think that was destroyed in the beginning of Best of Both Worlds, also in The Next Generation. Then we have the Nimbus system, where Romulans, Klingons and the Federation tried to establish a joint venture peaceful colony there, a project that obviously failed, and I'm highly anticipating how Star Trek Online will continue the history of that colony to this very day in 2409. Then we have Narendra, the system where the Enterprise C helped a Klingon outpost against the Romulans and then was propelled into the 24th century of Captain Picard, altered the timeline, then was sent back in order to continue her mission and eventually get destroyed by the Romulans. And, well, I think that, well, in Season 7, that will be the time when that story will be told and where we will get access to an Ambassador class cruiser, I guess. Then we have the Archer system, which was referenced in Star Trek Nemesis, I guess. And of course the Pheben system, where a lot of the Star Trek Online Klingon lore takes place. So we'll see a lot of places actually that have been referenced either in Trek or the Star Trek Online history past to 2409. And, well, they already say in a dev blog that there will be some special systems there. Obviously the new Romulus system will be something special that will be an adventure zone. Then there's also a list of Suliban, Khitomer and Nimbus. So I'm really looking forward to what they will do to these systems. Also, there's no mention of the Azure Nebula, although it's into the screenshot of the new sector block. And we already know that in the Azure Nebula, the Solians have gained a foothold. And, well, this whole sector screams for time travel, actually. We have the Suliban, we have the Solians, we have the Narendra sector. That will be very interesting. The location of the system is above the Picane sector block. The only problem that I have right now, understanding how this will work geographically, is how will people from the regular sector block enter that system without giving up access to the Araucanis exploration cluster or something like that? I don't know. So either there will be a hole in the galaxy map that is reserved for the Chromie and Araucanis exploration clusters, or Cryptic will come up with some kind of new creative way to access these exploration clusters, or maybe they are removed from the game, I don't know. Yeah, and then from a Ask Cryptic, we got some information on the reputation system. So in the reputation system there will be two independent branches. One will be the Romulan colony. I think you will progress in that branch by completing missions in the adventure zone, and then you will get a special reward, I guess, some kind of new currency that you can use together with other resources in order to complete projects for the Romulan colony. Same goes for special task force missions against the Borg. The Omega fleet is the second branch for the reputation system, and I think the rewards for STFs will be reworked so that you can use EDCs or whatnot to complete projects for Omega fleet to advance in that reputation system. And I think we already got confirmation that as rewards for completing tiers in the reputation system, then you will get access to the high-end gear and the Mako sets and stuff like that. Again, we have a sale on lifetime subscriptions, and we got the 1000-day veteran reward. The 1000-day veteran reward primarily is a new starship for Federation players and a second ship for Klingon players. And for both factions, this is basically a destroyer. It has some universal seatings, so you can gear toward engineering or science, but I've heard on the forums that, well, it's not that useful if you're not tactical officers, so this is a ship primarily designed for tactical officers. It has cool transformation abilities, so you can change the bonuses of the starship to gear it into a more aggressive tactical ship or into a more defensive science engineering kind of vessel. And depending on the mode in which the starship is, the ship will actually transform and has moving parts, and the Starfleet version more than the Klingon one. And well, it has two special abilities, one in each mode. So the tactical ability is a phaser or disruptor Lotus. Well, Braunflakes told us, think of it as phaser lance combined with fire at will. And well, the visual effect at least looks like that, but I've tried it and haven't seen much effect on enemies. It dramatically drains your weapon's power. When you've fired the Lotus weapon, then your weapon's energy equals 0. I haven't noticed so much damage, at least against multiple enemies. I don't know if that changes if you can concentrate your fire on one enemy, if then this effect deals a lot of damage. I don't know. The second ability, which you can only take if you have disabled the tactical mode of the ship, is a Tachyon Beam Lotus, where you can drain enemy shield energy and add it to your own. And this is really quite useful, I think. And I really like the ship. I really like the effects. I can understand how people get upset, which are more into the engineering and science play styles, for which this ship does not seem to be as useful as it is for tactical officers. But, well, it's a nice bonus for veterans, and it's on par, I think, with the other Vice Admiral +1 ships. I would value this as a ship that would go at 2,500 then on the C-Store. Again, I think this is a really nice ship, but there was some big news. If you buy Lifetime now, you will get all the veteran rewards at once, up to 1,000 days. And I just wanted to give you a breakdown of how much value these rewards yield. And I've calculated this on the basis of a silver account player who has not invested into the game at all. So this calculation might be different for you if you are a subscriber or if you have already bought some perks for yourself. But actually it's quite a defensive calculation. So what I assume is that you currently have 2 character slots, and I assume that you will use all the 3 additional character slots that you will gain from the veteran program also on level them to Vice Admiral as well over time. And so what you gain from the accumulated bonuses is more than $700 in services and items that you gain. This is kind of hard to calculate. So for the services, we have points of reference in the C-Store. We know what a ship slot is worth, we know what a character slot is worth, and so on and so forth. So I use these values. Note that veteran rewards usually are unlocked for all characters on one account. So if you gain 2 additional costume slots, I multiplied that bonus by 5 because you get the 2 additional costume slots for all 5 characters. If you have bought additional character slots on your own, then obviously the reward is larger for you because, well, you get additional free costume slots and so on and so forth. So this is a very defensive calculation. Also, the free Vice Admiral ship token is worth 2000 cent points or $20, because that actually means that you can unlock one starship worth 2000 Zen points on an account basis for each character. So having one ship for each character is basically the same thing than having an account ship. Again, you could argue that this is actually worth more because you can choose which of the starships you want to have. Because if you want to unlock such a Vice Admiral starship on the C-Store, then of course you have only the Galaxy for all your characters, and well, actually only 2 characters want to play with the Galaxy and the other ones want to have, the Defined. And so this is more flexible, but right now you would rather tend to buying +1 ships, which are more powerful than these $20 starships. So again, this is not as prominent. The new veteran reward starships these account for 2,500 Zen points in my opinion. Again, you could argue this is twice as much because, well, usually you'd have to unlock them for Federation players and Klingon players separately. So you could also argue that these are worth $50 instead of 25. But again, I calculated defensively. And then you can go on like that. You have additional costume options. Well, these are roughly equivalent to 2 costume packs on the C-Store at 550 each. And the same thing for your non-combat Mugato pet, for your captain's yacht, and so on and so forth. And then I land at $736.25 value in services and items that you gain from this lifetime offer. And I think the sale is now at $199. That of course only goes if you're really interested in these rewards. If you want to have additional bank slots, if you want to have additional costume slots, this is highly subjective. And this does not account for all the fluff that you get, like accolades and special forum titles and stuff like that. I think it's really hard to put numbers behind that. I tried to put some numbers for the fireworks device and, the additional starship material. That is basically something like the NX prefix and so on and so forth. If you have more characters already because you unlock them through free-to-play, then the gain from this sale is even bigger. This whole calculation does not take into account that you get 500 Zen points in 40 months. So basically in 3.5 years, the lifetime subscription will pay for itself in Zen points. We don't know if Star Trek Online will be on the internet then, but you can take into consideration that if you are paying money on the Zen store right now, then you should take into consideration that, well, the lifetime membership will elevate yourself and your character into gold status, and that you will get a return of investment of 500 Zen points every month. And so over the long run, this lifetime subscription will pay for a large amount of itself. This actually is a good offer. This is a good sale. On the other hand, I can understand every veteran player who is really angry about people now being able to take the short route, the shortcut right to the 1000 day veteran reward, for which they have waited for almost 3 years. And now there are new players who will be able to spend $200 and just grab all that good stuff at once. And only time will tell if that was a wise decision and how angry other players will be about that. I personally have no problem with that. I'm a lifetime subscriber and, well, I have enjoyed the benefits of the lifetime program and the veteran program. And the most important thing for me is how this program continues. If that is the dead end, where we as long-term players won't get anything more from that program, program as veterans, or if that program will continue into the future and every 100 days we'll get a little something from Cryptic. I don't know. So that is a more important question for me than, well, being agitated about or being envy of other people being able to buy in all the veteran rewards at once that I had to wait for so long. So, and then there is another tiny bit of math that I wanted to share with you, and that is another consideration for the temporal lockbox. So in the last show we had a breakdown of the odds that you have for obtaining each individual item from that lockbox, and I've updated the article on stowiki.org, and this is much more solid. We had a lot of help in the forums thread that I talked about last show, and we have more solid numbers, and it really looks like that your chance of finding a temporal science vessel is below 0.5%. So be wary of that. I've taken a quick tour to the exchange and I've collected current rates, and I wanted to see if, well, if I buy lockbox keys from the exchange, a lot of lockbox keys from the exchange, open boxes and sell all the stuff that I find, can I make a profit from that? And I already told you last week that I think no, you won't. And now I have the numbers to argue that in fact you won't break even. So if you sell everything that you find, and if you invest all your low-buy crystals into the very rare ships from the lobby store, then you will end up at 75% of what you spend. The average lockbox will yield a value of, I think, roughly 1 million energy credits on the exchange by trading with other players. And that includes finding temporal science vessels, and that includes also selling the temporal very rare starships that you bought from the lobby crystals that you accumulated on the low-buy store. And remember, you can only do that if you collected 800 low-buy crystals and you only find 5.4 low-buy crystals in every box. So you can do the math yourself, how much boxes you have to open in order to find enough low-buy to get such a ship. And well, to cut the story short, you buy a lockbox key at roughly 1.4 million energy credits. And if you sell everything you find, you are expected to sell that stuff for a little bit more than 1 million energy credits. So you lose 25% of your investment. On the other hand, if you want to keep the big prizes, like the temporal science vessel, and you want to spend your low-buy crystals on the store and keep the stuff that you buy, then you lose even more. Then you can only reclaim 13% of what you spend on lockbox keys by selling the stuff on the exchange. So there you have the numbers, and now you have, I think, enough facts to make an informed decision of if you want to get into the lockbox game or not. So thank you very much for watching. I'll see you out there. Good night and good luck.